Hello everybody, this is Alex from Hardcorian Guides, bringing my guide for God of War Ghost of Sparta on God difficulty. Today we're doing part 1 entitled Atlantis. For those who are not too familiar with how I do God of War videos, they're not going to be named after like every level specifically, but just like a main level that happens to take place in that particular video. So for of course this one we're just mainly doing for the most part, the beginning parts of Atlantis. Now, luckily for us, the beginning part of Ghost of Sparta is nothing too difficult. The game does get difficult later, but for right now, it's relatively pretty straightforward and not too bad. So, I mean, except for the Celia, or crack. Well, I think it's called the Celia. That thing gets a little bit annoying, but for the most part, again, nothing too harrowing. So, this first part, right here, I like to just grab the Atlanteans and throw them around. This will happen pretty much throughout the entire game. So whenever I get a chance to have to fight these guys, this is typically my go-to way of handling them anyway. So you'll be seeing that a lot. And I will make note real quick that there was the wraiths that show up later in the game, the ones that can go underground if you finish them off. There's things I didn't know about them, and I didn't really know about the Arms of Sparta trick for like a while. So much later in the guide, I will probably eventually talk about, like, oh yeah, by the way, you can just use the Arms of Sparta here to make things a little easier, or how to handle the race easier than I used to do it. So you'll see a lot of, I guess you could say, accidental mistakes on my part. However, I will, of course, give credit where credit's due, because I did see somebody else playing the game, so I keep track of like how far in the game I'm technically at, and I saw somebody else playing on God mode, and I took a bit of their tricks and incorporated into my guide. So of course I'll give credit when I get to that point. I forget what their name was, but we'll talk about that later. So yeah, again, these first two rooms, nothing too bad. It's just a couple of Atlanteans, and like I said, I just typically just grab them. These are the base level Atlanteans, so they won't do the, as far as I'm aware, they shouldn't do the overhead strike, which is, it is parryable, but it's unblockable for the most part. And that's another thing about Ghost of Sparta too, is like a lot of stuff in this game tends to be like weirdly parryable, but not unblockable. It's a very strange way this game kind of works. So you'll see what I'm talking about when we get to like the Minotaurs and stuff. And then right here was what I was talking about with the, I guess you could say, the part that it starts to get harder. All these attacks can be blocked, and luckily these spiders are not the spider, or crabs, or whatever the hell they are. Whatever these little creatures are, they eventually learn a move where they can spit acid at you. And right now, because it's the beginning of the game, they don't seem to do that, so we got lucky there. My tip for this part is just keep hitting the tentacles. Like, don't worry about the little bugs. If they get in your way, or if you need health, just go for a grab. You're better off just doing a grab attack and not wasting your time hitting them. Now, this thing right here, it can be parried, but since we don't have the actual parry command itself, you can still technically do the block into parry, regardless of actually having the parry itself, because I know the parry itself is technically square or triangle, but I mean, you know what I'm saying. You'll see it happen every once in a while. It should, I think, in theory, to still technically do damage, but I'm not 100% sure on that. Ghost of Sparta is one of those weird games that I'm not too exactly the most familiar with, so you'll see a lot of me having trouble figuring out the mechanics again. But this part right here, all you're gonna do really is just, you know, keep blocking the multi-strike attacks, and you should be fine. It's pretty telegraphed for the most part. Now, the first boss fight, though, is where things do, or where things can get a little bit more harder. Not, again, you know, nothing super ridiculously hard, but this whole attack right here, this is the one that I tend to kind of fudge up a lot. And it looks like you can just stick to the right for a little while and hopefully avoid, or, you know, just dodge roll and avoid most of the attacks. This move right here, you saw that I blocked at the right time, and I still had, well, if I had a parry move, I could have done it. However, you saw right there that that looks completely unblockable, which I'm sure it is, but yet you can still parry it. It's very odd how this game kind of functions in terms of God of War mechanics. So, a lot of things kind of threw me off, and I assume that maybe the tentacles can probably do the same thing. I'm not 100% sure. But I would say, at least for the first tentacle strike, you know, just roll to the right or whatever, and then jump that third one if need be. And then after that hand slam, I kind of started thinking to myself, like, wait a minute, maybe I could probably just parry everything this boss does, because it looks like you just can. So that's what kind of just gave me the idea right there, and it worked. So again, I should make it clear that I will call it a parry, even though I don't actually do the true parry itself. So I hope that doesn't make anybody mad. But yeah, again, I was testing things. I was seeing if you can actually block that, and unfortunately you can't. That has to be, you have to perfect block that move in order to not take any damage. But for the most part, again, like I said, this part was a lot more difficult, and I do still kind of hold to that extent that I do think it's a lot more difficult in terms of the Atlantis section, because a lot of the main guys are not that hard to deal with. You just grab and throw them around, and it's pretty easy. But this boss fight does do a bit of damage, and that's the thing you kind of have to worry about, is just, you know, it's easy enough to kind of accidentally get hit and get screwed over. So I know, great guide, by the way, right? Yeah, I know. It's been about 9 months or so since I've done an actual guide, and I'm not gonna lie, I'm a little bit rusty, so, you know, it's gonna take me a little while to kind of get used to how things work again on this channel. However, of course, I'm feeling extremely good today. I don't know what's going on, but something in my brain is just telling me, like, yeah, today's a good day to start doing this stuff again. And by the way, for those that are wondering, I did go through the entire game, and I did finish it. So the entire recording session is done. I just got to do commentary. There's about 11 videos, and I don't know if I really would like to do Ascension anytime soon. I don't plan on doing God of War 4 or 5. For those that are interested in God of War 4 and 5, I do apologize. I have no direct interest in doing them. I have beaten 4 on Give Me God of War in my own time. I did a marathon of it a long time ago on my other channel, TurdMonkey1497. So you can go check that out there. That was like back in, I think, I want to say 2019. I don't remember. If you look up the God of War marathon, you can find it that way. And it had no commentary in it because I was getting pissy at the time. And yeah, so there's that. But we can talk about that stuff once we get to the end of the guide, and I can talk about what I think about the game overall. Also, because of the way I'm editing now, because I don't have access to my original editing tool, I will be editing this in a much, I guess you could say, a more loose way of doing things. So, I mean, don't fret, nothing wrong, you know, you guys shouldn't see anything too crazy. But for the most part, like, there might be times where there's just like, oh, here's a cutscene that pops up, and luckily I can skip it. If it has unskippable cutscenes, I will edit out unskippable cutscenes, of course. But if I can skip cutscenes in a game like this, which luckily God of War PSPs let you skip cutscenes, thank God for that. Not all of them, but, you know, there's quite a bit of them that you can. I will be skipping those. Why I left this section out, I have no idea, because I actually died to the Minotaur here. That's a cut that shows that I died there. So Minotaurs are way different than they were in Chains of Olympus, because this is made by the same studio. And the reason why they're different is you can parry practically almost every single one of their attacks. And I'm pretty sure, like, even like the slam attack can do that too. Also, if you hug against the right wall here, you will get attacked by the Cilia, so be careful of that. It doesn't really do much. You don't take any damage, but it does knock away the Minotaur. So if things are getting a little too aggressive and you're having too hard of a fight right now, that's one thing you can do. Also, if you are in a room filled with enemies that is just becoming quite irritating to deal with, grab attacks are wondrous in God of War games, and especially attacks like this, where you just kind of just loop them in a constant air juggle or air to ground slam move. So, something to kind of keep in mind if you're having too much trouble getting through this part. You can use them to your advantage, and they should, I think, in theory, do damage to enemies when they're getting grabbed. It's not much damage, I've noticed, but at the same time, I think you can. By the way, if you attack the Minotaur too many times, he will retaliate, and that retaliation move can be parried as well, so, and blocked. And by the way, you can block all these attacks. You don't have to just parry. You can block all of these attacks. And there you go. There's the slam that can be parried. Now, that one, whether or not it can be blocked, I don't think so. Because a lot of the time, overhead strikes tend to not be blockable. They just tend to be parryable, and that's about it. So, I don't know why, specifically. Why the sudden change? I don't know. But, I mean, I'll take it. To be fair, like, hey, you know, whatever works. If the game lets me do it, I'm going to do it. So, why not? Not going to complain too much. I will complain later, though. I will complain later in the guide, though, because those wraiths, I didn't know, you know, I didn't know about the whole, like, well, I didn't think about it because I'm kind of dumb sometimes. But like when I used to play this game on God mode, I hated those parts. Hated those parts because I would always like knock them on. Sorry, I'm moving my chair. I would always knock them on the ground. If you do a finisher toward those enemies, they will go underground and then do a grab attack that, of course, cannot be blocked, cannot be parried. You can roll away from it if you're quick enough. However, that block attack is just complete utter bullshit. And just to say it right now, there were times where I would grab an enemy, which I think will probably even show in the video footage. There was times where I would grab an enemy mid-grab, which are supposed to be invincible mid-grab, and I would still get grabbed from them. It's some weird priority thing that they changed in this game. I don't know why they did, but I guess they just wanted to make it more bullshit, I guess, apparently. Who knows? Also, I will say this real quick, that God of War Ghost of Sparta, I used to have, not a hate boner for it, but more so like, it wasn't like super hard hate. It was just like, ugh, I don't really care for Ghost of Sparta. You know what I mean? Like, I used to just not really be interested in it at all. I just used to think it was kind of one of the lower end God of War games. But after playing through it again on God mode and now finally kind of just somewhat understanding what I need to be doing, I still prefer Chains of Olympus, just overall, because that's what I grew up with. But Ghost of Sparta's not a bad game. I mean, it's not really that bad, to be honest. I think, if anything, I still don't like Ascension. Yeah, these civilians here, they give you health. It's just like it was back in the day. By the way, yes, you can actually parry back any projectiles. If you run toward the Atlanteans, they will run away. The ones that are zoners, they have really low health. They take a few hits. They're not too bad to deal with, but for the most part, they're really annoying. Just always being, like, you know, constantly in the back and throwing shit at you. Which, you know, when you get the Arms of Sparta, you'll have to deal with them with shooting them back, pretty much. So get ready for that type of content for sure. Which, again, I want to reiterate that. Sorry, I didn't really know that the Arms of Sparta had such a powerful, not only kit, but just the R1 square throwing thing. I didn't realize how strong that actually was for the game, because like usually when I play this game, because Ghost of Sparta does not allow you to get all the upgrades in one run. As far as I'm aware, I've never gotten all the upgrades in one run before. I think they want you to do that whole gauntlet thing. The Challenge of the Gods, or whatever the hell it was called in this one. I think they want you to do that. And that's like the preferred way to get all your upgrades and all your orbs. And by the way, the blades can only upgrade to level 4. And I'll talk about like what I upgrade as I go through it, I guess. I'll talk about what I focus on in just a second. But anyway, yeah, upgrade the Arms of Sparta whenever you can, at least to level 2. So that way you could do a lot of decent damage with your throwing spears trick that I didn't know about. And again, when we get to that part when I had to, you know, fight with wraiths and stuff, probably the first wraith fight, or at least when you get the Arms of Sparta themselves, I'll mention who I got the idea from. 'Cause I should have their video somewhere. I mean, I can look right now if need be, because there's really not a lot of stuff going on. I can look. But again, yeah, sorry it took me so long to come back to this. I just wasn't really feeling it. I wasn't really feeling like doing any guide stuff. I was doing a lot of Let's Play content on my other channel. I have projects outside of YouTube that I'm working on too. And, you know, a lot of stuff just takes up a lot of time. And then, of course, I have a, unfortunately, ginormous backlog of games to play through. And I just recently finally finished Ninja Gaiden OG Vanilla on the Xbox, so I finally finished that game for once. Oh, here we go. Alright. So the guy's name that I watched the God of War playthrough of on God mode to get an idea of, you know, how far in I was, and I found a little tricks I didn't know about. His name is capital L, or capital STB, lowercase I, capital LL. So, STI Bill is what his name is. And he has like a little temple thing for the the YouTube title in for the God of War to reference, like, the Greek temples and stuff. It's pretty cool looking. But yeah, go check them out, or check them out. So because they had pretty good content. It's a no commentary type thing. I don't think it's much of a guide. I think it's just more so him just playing it. There was another person I watched that did like a no damage run, but I don't remember who they were. For the most part, this was the guy that I watched. I'm like, oh, I didn't know about the Arms of Sparta trick. So, props to you, shoutouts to you, of course. And yeah, strangely enough, for once, I didn't just watch Big Benedict or Seraphim 17 or anything like that playing through this game. I tried my best to get through this game without any potential prior knowledge outside of things that I already knew. Because, for the most part, when you play a lot of God of War, you kind of just understand how God of War functions mechanically on every single game. But Ghost of Sparta and Ascension are two different beasts that don't retroactively... They don't really work the same way that I'm kind of used to. There's a lot of weird intricacies with this game that I didn't expect would happen. And Ascension has it worse, and I don't like Ascension. I don't like Ascension just normally. I don't like Ascension even on very hard, I mean, don't get me wrong. I think Ascension has some good qualities, of course. But it is not, it's not a favorite of mine for sure. Also, I understand that this is supposed to be a guide. I should be talking about everything I'm doing, but it's the same Atlanteans you've been fighting for like the past 5 minutes. Nothing's really changed yet. So you don't really have to worry too much about any of that. Oh, real quick, another thing. I do not know where every chest is at. I did get all the health, magic, and item upgrade for the game. I just, however, am not familiar with every chest location. So I may miss a few chests that you guys might know about. And, I don't... Like, the guide's already done. So there's no reason to tell me, like, oh, you missed it. You stupid fuck, you missed it. Because it's not really going to help anybody now, is it? Because I've already finished the game. So, there's that. Oh, and I guess I should also mention real quick that I like to yap a lot. If you're not a fan of constant talking in guides or just constant commentary, then these are not the guides for you, because I like to talk about whatever, including things that, how to do things. Alright, so our first true Cyclops fight. I don't think you can parry any of the moves, as far as I'm aware. So, how exactly do you defeat him? No, you do the same thing you do with every other Cyclops and every other God of War game. We just pretty much just dodge roll out of the way and hit him in the back. Now, I've noticed, and look at that, look at the pattern that's going on. You see how he's doing relatively about the same, one, maybe two different attacks every time that I'm behind him. He's going for that grab attack. And I think he only does that because I'm to his side or behind him. So if you want to get him to do a slam, like a frontward slam, or even like a frontward grab, then try to roll to the side and get behind him, and then head him from there. Because he'll probably just end up doing that more often than not. There's going to be some Cyclopses later on that have a different moveset entirely that will probably throw you off. And we'll, of course, talk about them when we get there. So, we'll worry about that stuff when we get the chance. I think I shouldn't really spoil too much of what's going on. And yeah, these are the God of War, like 3 Cyclopses, where you can pretty much just get free extra orbs out of the circle grab move. I don't know what you would call it, but I guess you could say like a health checkpoint thing, where like they would just get stunned and then you would just grab them and then get some free orbs from it. And then eventually, like after like the third, like once you've done it twice, the third one usually ends up giving you that last one. Also, man, maybe doing a guide today was a good idea, because there's something about watching like classic God of War type games being played and doing a Hardcorian guide of it and just talking about God of War again. It just makes me feel kind of good, Makes me want to play like DMC and stuff again. I haven't played DMC 1 in a hot minute. Oh, don't worry. I go back and I get the chest. I saw that there was another path, and I was double checking. I'm like, wait a minute, this is progress. So let me go ahead and break these things real quick and go check that right side, just to check for chests and stuff. And then real quick, just to talk about upgrades, I will be focusing mostly on getting my blades upgraded, and then once we get the airness magic, I think it's called, that's like the only magic I really give a shit about upgrading. I don't upgrade the electric magic. I only upgrade like the ball magic that sucks up like health and stuff, just for the sake of having. Ooh, sorry about that. I don't know if you heard that or not. That's my stomach making noises. I don't really plan on dealing with upgrading the magic because, you know, I'm not, again, super familiar or super good at Ghost of Sparta. So for me, a lot of the magic in this game just doesn't seem like it's very viable in a lot of situations. So, except for like the healing magic ability. I guess you start off with hold square. I didn't know that. Also, there's a lot of water sections. I mean, the game, you know, it does take place in Atlantis. You kind of expect it to have a lot of water. I mean, it's like half Atlantis and half something else, which is pretty cool that Atlantis is here. And I do want to say, you know, sorry, Gura, I'm coming through here killing all your people. But, you know, my bad. It's God of War, you know, it's what I gotta do. I gotta get through it, man. I gotta be able to beat it. So it's the only way to do it. It's just to murder everything in sight, I guess. Yeah, every once in a while I'll try not to yap too much, because I do feel like some people don't like that aspect of it. They don't really like the constant commentary. I know that's just my shtick, and I'm quite capable of talking for hours on end, as seen with the Wolverine videos, which, by the way, never again. I don't really feel like ever doing another 2-hour recording thing again. That was a nightmare, man. I should have done that. I should have cut it into parts. You know, chapter 1 dash, or chapter 1 part 1, chapter 1 part 2, that kind of thing. So that way I don't, you know, kill myself on recording. Because that was a lot of stuff. By the way, there's no chests around there that I saw. So we're just going to jump right into the boss fight. Kratos' mother. So Kratos' mother, Callisto, has, for the most part, everything can be parried back. So like you see this move I'm doing right here, I'm basically doing the perfect block, but not into the parry because I do not have level 2 blades yet to do the parry. And around this room there's a ton of orb stuff you can break and get quite a few orbs, but I did not get enough to get level 2 just yet. And Callisto's entire fight is pretty much just this. Just stay next to her and hit her, and then whenever she's going for like any particular like hand attack, that's when you just want to parry. And she does like this little thing if you're behind her, where she'll try to like swipe back at you behind her, so that way she can stop you from hitting her, of course. And watch out for that running move. It does do damage. It does enough damage. I think you could take like maybe 1, maybe 2 of them. Because what she'll end up doing is she'll push you to a wall, and you have to like mash L and R, you know, alternatively, to break out and, you know, hit her. And I don't know how much damage it does to her when you do break out, because you do throw her across the room. But I don't think it's reliable enough to really worry about. So I would say just stick to your guns. You know, just hit her a few times, or more than a few, I guess I should say. But you know, keep on hitting her, of course. Because again, like this does it. I'm pretty sure it should do damage. I don't see why it wouldn't. And luckily for me, I got lucky there, because that was a cool, you know, just nice finisher. And I think that was just a random accident, you know, kind of waiting to happen. I don't think that was supposed to be scripted, that grab. I don't think it was. Anyway, I will be picking up the extra items because I'm kind of dumb and I forgot, like, oh yeah, forgot about those. It's like God of War 3. I see shiny object and I pick it up, and then I'm like, all right. So there's that. And now I believe we're into the sunken city part of it. I'll look up level stuff later and figure all that crap out beforehand. But now we have the Atlantis magic, which is essentially I think it can be chained if you upgrade it to level 3, but don't quote me on that. I don't remember exactly. But essentially, I think it's not. Is it down on the D-pad? I forget. No, down on the D-pad I think it's changed weapons. I think it's up on the D-pad, or left or right. It's some weird thing. By the way, I'm playing on the PS3 version of this game, so for those that are wondering. And every once in a while, there will be some controller johns that did kind of fuck me up, but you probably wouldn't see that very often because most of my deaths were edited. You know, I think like almost all of them were edited out, just to save trouble, because we don't need to see all that stuff. you guys can pretty much just guess what pretty much happens, and I'll probably most likely tell you all the horror stories that befell me when I did end up getting stuck in certain parts of the game. And then, yeah, I remembered, luckily, to go right first. You don't go left. Left is progress, and right is toward this way. And, yeah, I'm already starting to level up the blades. I think I stick to doing that anyway, because we don't get the Arms of Sparta for a while. And they're not really my main focus either. At least for this playthrough. I would suggest that if you do get them, I would suggest, upgrading. I should say when you do get the Arms of Sparta, because I believe you guys can do this. When you get to the Arms of Sparta, upgrade it to level 2, just to make sure that you have it handy. Just in the off chance that you might want to use that little trick. Alright, for this part, if I remember correctly, I think it's just a quick time event part, which there's quite a bit of quick time events. And that's the thing with God of War you gotta remember is, you can never put the controller down, because there's probably gonna be a quick time event coming at any point in time, so just be careful with that. Yep, there it is. But anyway, that should be close to being it for the video. And we'll just, walk up to the save. We're going to the Molten Crater area next and dealing with the Midas stuff later. So, without further ado, I'm trying to remember how to end these again. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you all next time for some more God of War Ghost of Sparta. And of course, as always, take care, everybody.